What if one human ship was enough to silence an entire alien armada? What if mercy was more terrifying than destruction? This is an original HFY Humans Are Special sci-fi story where humanity's quiet power collides with the pride of the galaxy. A fleet of 300 alien warships faces a single human vessel and learns the truth about why. Earth sent only one ship that this suspenseful 8-part saga explores: humanity's hidden strength, the pride and fear of alien empires, the looming darkness beyond the stars, the choice between survival and extinction. If you love HFY, first contact stories, military sci-fi, and dark, suspenseful space adventures, this is for you. Subscribe to @Paragon HFY for more weekly HFY stories that prove why humanity will always be the most dangerous and most inspiring force in the galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts. What would you do if one human ship stood against your entire fleet? The galaxy had seen many wars, fleets of thousands, burning suns, shattered worlds. In every conflict, numbers had mattered: how many ships, how many guns, how many soldiers you could throw into the fire. Victory had always belonged to the largest armada. That is why the aliens laughed when the humans arrived. One ship, just one, it came drifting from the edge of the system, black against the stars, its hull shining faintly in the light of the red sun. The alien fleet, 300 warships strong, waited near the planet below. They had expected an army. Instead, they saw a single vessel that looked too small, too quiet, too alone. The alien commander, Admiral Valen of the Keth, leaned back in his chair and let out a cold laugh. So this is humanity's answer. One ship. Do they think we will be merciful because they amuse us? The officers around him chuckled. Their screens showed the vessel in high detail. Sleek, sharp lines. No visible weapons. No escorts. Nothing. They are primitives, one officer sneered. Their worlds are scattered, their people few. This is a last act of defiance, nothing more. But Valen frowned. Something about the ship was wrong. Where is its signature? He asked. Sir? I said, where is its energy signature? Its shields, its engines, its weapons. Why did the scanners read? Nothing? The bridge fell silent. They looked again. The human ship glided slowly, steadily, as if gravity itself carried it forward. Yet the sensors showed no engine burn, no shield frequency, not even the faint hum of life support systems. It was a ghost. Still, the laughter returned. The Admiral told himself it was just human arrogance. They had sent one ship as a message, bluff, a final attempt to look stronger than they were. But as the minutes passed, the silence of the vessel began to stretch. The human ship did not broadcast greetings. It did not send codes of surrender. It did not even identify itself. The rules of space were clear: every vessel, every nation, every people always announced themselves upon entering foreign territory. But this ship said nothing. It was as if it didn't. Who saw it? The alien fleet grew restless. Captains sent queries to the Admiral, demanding orders. Should they attack? Should they board it? Should they drag the ship into custody and parade its crew before the galaxy as fools? Admiral Valen hesitated. His people were predators by nature. Aggression was their strength. Yet he felt something stir in his gut, an instinct as old as his bloodline: caution. Finally, he gave the order. Send a probe. I want to know what hides inside that hole. The probe launched a dart of silver light across the void. It streaked toward the human vessel, sensors alive, scanning every layer of metal and field. On the alien flagship, screens lit up with data, then dashed nothing. The probe vanished. No explosion. No signal. No trace of its existence. One moment it was there, rushing toward the target, and the next, it was gone. The bridge filled with confusion. Officers checked their readings. Technicians swore the probe had not been destroyed. It had simply ceased to exist. Valen rose to his feet, his jaw tight. What did they do? He demanded. No weapon fire detected, cried an officer. No interference. No jamming. It just disappeared. The laughter that had once filled the fleet was gone. Now, only silence remained. The admiral ordered long-range scans. Every sensor, every satellite, every hidden eye was pointed at the human ship. Yet the readings came back the same. Nothing, no weapons, no shields, no life signs. And still it drifted closer. A whisper spread through the alien crews. Some swore the ship was empty, controlled by some unknown machine. Others claimed it was a decoy, hiding a real fleet that would jump into the system any moment. Still others spoke of darker things, ancient legends of vessels cursed by forgotten gods. Ships that devoured souls. Valen ignored the superstition. He believed in war, not ghosts. And yet, his claws tapped the edge of his command chair, restless, uneasy. Finally, he said, "Open a channel. Let us hear what these humans have to say across the void." The alien fleet broadcast their hail. Their message was loud, aggressive, filled with threats. "Human vessel. You trespass in Keth space. You insult us with your presence. Identify yourself or be destroyed." The human ship gave no reply. Seconds passed, then minutes. The silence pressed against them like weight. Every breath on the bridge felt too loud, too harsh, till still, nothing came. The admiral gritted his teeth. He hated this feeling, this waiting, this not knowing. In war, clarity was everything. Yet this one human ship was denying him that clarity. It moved slowly, calmly, as if time itself belonged to it. By the end of the hour, the alien fleet was restless. Some captains demanded immediate attack. Others warned caution. Valen stared at the screen. The human ship was closer now, still silent, still unreadable. His instincts screamed to truths at once. Destroy it. Do not touch it. Finally, he whispered to himself, why would they send only one ship? No one answered. And in the silence of space, Saul's spear, the name faintly painted on its hull, continued to drift closer, carrying with it a mystery that would soon shake the galaxy. The aliens had laughed at first. A single human vessel against 300 warships. The galaxy had seen arrogant fools before, and they all burned the same. But after the probe vanished, the laughter stopped. On the bridge of the Keth flagship, Admiral Valen stood rigid, his eyes fixed on the dark human vessel drifting closer. It made no sound, no broadcast, no movement that looked alive. And yet, its very presence pressed against the fleet like a storm waiting to break. His second officer broke the silence. Admiral, permission to launch another probe? Valen's voice was tight. No. If the first was swallowed whole, what good is another? But sir, enough. His roar silenced the bridge. He had ruled battles for decades, commanded armadas that burned cities to ash. But this one ship, this quiet thing of human design, was making his officers tremble. In the other vessels of the fleet, whispers spread. Crew members spoke in hushed tones, glancing nervously at their monitors. Maybe it was a trick. Maybe the probe malfunctioned, or maybe the humans wanted us to see it vanish. Stories carried faster than commands. Rumors always did. Soon, some of the younger soldiers began to believe the ship was not human at all, but a weapon left behind by an ancient race. A ghost ship, disguised as steel. Hours passed. The vessel drew closer, its hull gleaming faintly under the star's light. Still no weapons appeared, no defenses activated. It was simply, there one captain broke the growing silence with nervous laughter. He opened a channel directly to Valen. Admiral, perhaps we should fire once. A warning shot. End this farce. Others agreed. They wanted action. Anything to crush the weight of waiting. Valen considered it. His instincts screamed against the idea, yet his pride burned at the thought of letting one human vessel paralyze an entire fleet. Finally, he gave a cold nod. Very well. Let one of our ships fire a single round. A small strike. If the humans wish to frighten us, let us return the favor. The order spread. One destroyer broke formation, its cannons glowing with light. The crew cheered, relieved to finally do something, anything, instead of waiting for the unknown, the weapon fired. A lance of energy streaked across the void, a bolt of pure destruction strong enough to tear open mountains. The alien fleet watched as it struck the human ship and disappeared. No explosion, no shield flash, no sign of impact. The bolt simply dissolved as if the void itself had swallowed it whole. The alien destroyer's bridge went silent. On the flagship, Admiral Valen leaned forward, claws digging into his chair. What happened? Did they block it? No, Admiral, said the officer, his voice shaking. It didn't miss. It didn't hit. It just vanished. Another officer whispered, like the probe. The silence grew heavier. Across the fleet, fear spread like fire. The human ship had done nothing. No return fire, no counterattack. Yet it had taken a direct hit and remained untouched, as if the laws of war no longer applied. Some captains wanted to retreat. Others demanded a full-scale assault. But under it all, a question echoed in every mind. If one ship could ignore their weapons, what else could it do? Then, for the first time, the human vessel moved. Its engines glowed faintly, pushing it forward with slow, deliberate grace. It wasn't rushing, wasn't fleeing, wasn't charging. It simply advanced one steady movement at a time. To the Keth, that calm was worse than aggression. An enemy that charged could be stopped. An enemy that fled could be hunted. But an enemy that moved slowly with patience, as if it feared nothing. That enemy was terrifying. On the flagship, Valen finally spoke. Open another channel now. The order was carried out. A wideband hail cut across the void, directed at the human ship, human vessel. You have violated Keth space. You hide behind tricks and silence. Speak now, or be destroyed. The words echoed into nothing, and then a voice. Calm, steady, human. This ship is enough. Every alien froze. The words were not shouted. They were not filled with anger or pride. They were simply spoken like a fact, like a truth that needed no proof. On the bridge of the flagship, officers looked at one another in shock. Some hissed in disbelief. Others lowered their eyes, afraid to meet their admiral's gaze. Valen clenched his fists. His heart pounded, though he tried to hide it. The humans had finally spoken, and what they said was worse than silence. If this one ship was enough, then what did that mean for the galaxy? By the end of the day, the alien fleet was restless and divided. Some wanted to attack again, to prove that humanity's words were nothing but bravado. Others whispered that the humans had already proven their point, that to strike again would only invite something far worse. As the human vessel continued its silent advance, the aliens realized something they had never admitted before. For the first time in generations, they were afraid. The words hung in the silence of space. This ship is enough. Just for words. Not shouted, not demanded, just spoken, calm and steady. As though the human captain were simply stating the time of day. Yet the impact was like a blade across the throat of the alien fleet. On the flagship of the Keth Armada, Admiral Valen sat frozen. His eyes narrowed, his claws tapping against the arm of his chair. He had expected fear. He had expected excuses, surrender, begging. But not this. Never this. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Some whispered in low tones, afraid to break the silence. Others stared at their monitors, checking and rechecking, as if the human ship would suddenly make sense if they looked long enough. But it never did. One officer dared to speak. Admiral. Permission to respond. Valen waved his hand. Do it. The officer leaned toward the transmitter. His voice was strong, but his scales shivered faintly with unease. Human vessel. You stand before the Keth Armada. You face 300 ships armed with weapons that have conquered worlds. You cannot stand against us. Explain your words. The reply came almost instantly. A single human voice, still calm, still steady. You misunderstand. We are not here to fight you. Shock rippled across the bridge. Not here to fight? Then why come? Why drift into enemy space? Alone, silent, and impossible to read. Before Valen could demand an answer, the human voice spoke again. We are here to show you. The word show carried weight, though no one understood why. The alien officers shifted uneasily. What would the human show them? Valen's claws gripped the edge of his chair. Show us what? He demanded. No reply came. The human ship remained silent again, its black hull gleaming under the red star. Minutes passed. The aliens grew restless. Some captains sent private messages, demanding action. Others argued for patience. The fleet was dividing itself with fear, and Valen felt it in his bones. He stood, his voice booming across the flagship. Prepare the fleet. If they do not explain themselves, we will burn them from the stars. And then, without warning, the human ship acted. Not with weapons, not with shields, not with any kind of attack the galaxy understood. Instead, light rippled across its hull, soft golden, like sunlight breaking through clouds. The glow spread outward, expanding in a silent wave across the void. The alien sensors screamed with warnings. Energy readings spiked into ranges that no chart could measure. Frequencies shifted beyond understanding. But the wave did not destroy. It did not burn. Instead, every alien screen flickered, then cleared, and on every monitor, every display, across all 300 ships of the Keth fleet, a vision appeared. It was Earth. Not as it was now, but as it had been. The blue oceans, the green forests, the white peaks of mountains stretching into the sky. The sight was so vivid that for a moment many aliens forgot they were on a warship at all. They felt as if they were standing under a human sun, hearing the crash of human waves, breathing the air of human skies. Then the vision shifted. The humans themselves appeared. Not soldiers, not leaders, not warriors, families, children running through fields. Workers building cities. Scientists gazing at stars. The humans showed their world not as a fortress, but as a home. The alien officers stared, speechless, then the vision darkened. The skies filled with fire. Cities crumbled. Alien ships that were not Keth, but others long forgotten, descended from the stars. Humanity fought back. One world, one species standing against endless enemies. But the humans did not show defeat. They showed resilience. They showed soldiers fighting with broken weapons, children carrying water for the wounded, scientists building machines from scraps. The message was clear. One world, one people, one ship, enough. When the vision faded, silence ruled the fleet. The screens went dark, returning only to the steady image of the human vessel. On the flagship, Admiral Valen felt his chest tighten. The humans had not fired a single shot, yet they had struck a blow deeper than any weapon could. They had shown their will, an officer whispered. What they all felt but dared not say aloud. They mean it. One ship is enough. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Valen hesitated. He thought of the countless wars the Keth had won, of the fleets they had crushed, the worlds they had enslaved. Always, victory had come through numbers, through overwhelming force. But the humans had not brought numbers. They had brought something else. Something the Admiral did not yet understand, and that terrified him more than any fleet ever had. Finally, he spoke, his voice low, almost grudging. Send a message back. Ask them what they want. The channel opened again. What do you want, human vessel? This time, there was a pause. A silence so long that many wondered if the humans would answer at all. Then the voice returned. We want you to. Listen. The words struck like thunder. Not a threat, not a demand. A simple instruction, spoken with certainty. The alien officers shifted uncomfortably. Listening was not in their nature. The Keth took what they wanted. They conquered, they commanded, they enslaved. But here was one ship, one human, telling them to stop and listen. Admiral Valen sat back slowly, his claws curling tight. His pride demanded that he strike, that he burn this ship from existence. But his instincts, that ancient animal sense of survival, whispered another truth. The humans were not bluffing. This ship truly was enough. And as the human vessel drifted closer, the admiral realized with dread that this was only the beginning. The alien fleet had seen visions. Oceans, mountains, children, wars. Humanity had shown them their past, their struggle, their survival. But the Keth were not a people who listened. They were predators, and predators tested their prey with fire. On the flagship, Admiral Valen's jaw was tight, his claws digging grooves into the arm of his chair. The human voice echoed in his mind, "We want you to listen." It was an insult. The Keth listened to no one. They ruled through strength alone. Finally, Valen stood, his dark eyes burning. "Enough of their games," he growled. "If one ship is enough, let us prove otherwise. Let us break their silence with fire." His order spread like lightning through the Yi. Fleet, the chosen warship, was a heavy cruiser, a beast armed with weapons strong enough to crack moons. Its captain, eager for glory, moved into position. His crew cheered, their fear buried under the thrill of the kill. The human vessel remained where it was, drifting closer, still silent. No shields, no weapons. Just black steel against the stars. The alien captain grinned. "One shot. That is all it will take." The cruiser's cannons flared to life, charging with power. Energy pulsed through the hull, weapon systems locking on target. The silence of space filled with a deadly hum. And then, with a roar of unleashed energy, the first true strike was fired. The beam was massive, a river of burning light that crossed the void in seconds. It should have torn the human ship apart, scattering its remains into nothing but molten shards. Instead, it vanished, just like the probe, just like the warning shot before. The weapon dissolved the moment it touched the ship's hull, swallowed into nothing. No explosion, no sound. No damage. The human vessel did not move, did not dodge, did not even acknowledge the attack. It simply let the fire command, then erased it on the flagship. The silence was crushing. Admiral Valen leaned forward, his voice a low growl. "Report." The officer scrambled, checking screens, scanning again and again. One finally stammered the truth. "Admiral." The energy was absorbed, not deflected, not blocked, absorbed, as if the human ship drank it. Murmurs filled the bridge. Fear spread across every face. Another officer whispered, "Then our weapons are nothing." The words cut deep. The Keth had conquered galaxies with fire and steel. Their weapons were their pride, their answer to every enemy. But against one human ship, their fire meant nothing. Across the fleet, the crews panicked. Soldiers shouted at their captains. Captains shouted at their admirals. Messages filled the comms with fear and disbelief. Is it invincible? What is it made of? No ship can do this. No ship. Some even spoke the words no Keth had dared in centuries. We should retreat, but Valen silenced them with a roar. Enough. His voice thundered across the command deck. No ship is invincible. The humans are playing tricks. If one strike fails, then we strike harder. Prepare the fleet for full barrage. The order spread. Weapons charged across 300 ships. Cannons, missiles, beams, all primed to unleash their fury. The power of an empire focused on a single vessel. The fleet fired as one. A storm of light filled the void, so bright that nearby stars seemed to dim. Thousands of weapons screamed across space, each one strong enough to obliterate cities. The human ship disappeared beneath the fire. For a moment, the aliens cheered. Their monitors showed nothing but blinding light, drowning out the vessel's form. They believed it destroyed, finally broken. But then, the light cleared and the human ship was still there. Not a scratch, not a dent. The black steel gleamed in the red star's glow, calm and silent. But something was different now. The hull shimmered faintly, like ripples on water. A glow spread outward, subtle but terrifying. And then, one by one, alien ships began to die, not destroyed, not burning, but shutting down. Engines flickered out. Weapons went dark. Shields collapsed. The Keth fleet, once a storm of fire, fell into silence. Ship after ship went powerless, drifting in the void like toys abandoned by a child. Panic filled the coms. We've lost control. Reactor offline. Systems are frozen. Everything is dead. Admiral Valen stood in shock, his claws shaking. His fleet, his pride, his power, all silenced by a single human vessel. Then the human voice returned, calm, unshaken. "This ship is enough," the words echoed across the dead coms. A whisper of truth that Keith could no longer deny. The humans had not destroyed them. They had simply stopped them. With no effort, no struggle, no blood spilled. It was not a battle. It was a warning. On the flagship, silence reigned. Officers sat frozen, their screens dark, their pride shattered. Admiral Valen stared at the vessel, his throat tight. For the first time in his life, felt something he had never known before. Not anger, not rage, fear. The human ship drifted closer, its glow fading back into silence. It had proven its point. Numbers did not matter. Weapons did not matter. Fleets did not matter. The galaxy had always believed victory belonged to the largest armada. But now, the galaxy would remember a different truth. Sometimes, one ship is enough. The battlefield was silent. 300 alien warships drifted powerless in the void. Engines cold, weapons dead, shields gone. The proud Kethflatan armada that had crushed entire civilizations hung. In space, like broken statues, and at the center of it all, the human vessel remained calm, untouched, watching. On the flagship, Admiral Valen stood frozen. His claws trembled against the steel of his chair. His pride screamed at him to shout, to command, to fight, but there was nothing left to command. His fleet was mute, stripped of strength by a single ship. The human voice echoed once more, steady and calm. "You see now? Fire cannot break us. Fear cannot bend us." Valen's throat tightened. He wanted to rage, to curse, to deny. But the truth was in front of him. Undeniable. This ship truly was enough. The alien officers whispered among themselves, their voices low and fearful. What are they? No ship can do this. It isn't technology, it's something else. One officer dared to speak louder. "Admiral, this is no machine. It feels alive." The word sent a chill through the bridge. Alive? A living ship? That was the stuff of legends, myths told in shadow. Ships that could think, ships that could breathe, ships that carried not just crew but souls, but the evidence was before their eyes. No machine could have silenced 300 ships without a single kill. No ordinary vessel could have erased fire itself. Admiral Valen forced his voice steady. "Open a channel, ask them. Ask them what that ship truly is." The coms crackled. "Human vessel, what are you?" Silence followed. For a moment, Valen thought the humans would ignore them again. Then the voice returned, soft but sharp as a blade. "This ship is not just steel, not just engines, not just crew. It is us." The officers exchanged confused glances. Valen leaned forward. "Explain." The human voice did not hesitate. "We built Saul's spear with more than metal. We gave it more than power. It carries our history, our memory, our will. It is human." The words sank deep. The aliens realized what that meant. The ship was not only a weapon, it was a creation fused with human thought, human spirit, human resilience. A vessel that was more than alive, it was a reflection of its people. Fear rippled through the kith. If humanity could make one ship like this, how many more could exist? Admiral Valen's scales prickled. His instincts whispered the truth he did not want to admit. This was not just a warship, it was a warning. Suddenly, the glow around the human ship brightened again. The Keth officers flinched, expecting destruction. But instead of weapons, another vision filled their screens. This time it was not Earth they saw, it was the void. Empty space. And in that darkness, vast monstrous shapes drifting in the cold, eyes burning with ancient light, creatures that were not ships, not life as they knew it. Something older, something hungrier. The alien crews shivered. Even Valen, hardened by decades of war, felt his chest tighten. The human voice returned. This is why we came, not to fight you, not to conquer. To warn, the images shifted, worlds devoured, fleets shattered, civilizations erased. The monsters swept through the stars like fire through dry grass, leaving nothing behind. The humans spoke again. They are coming back. A wave of dread crashed across the Keth fleet. This was no bluff. The humans had shown them the enemy before. One, the galaxy had forgotten. The ancient enemy was returning, and the human ship, this single vessel, was not built to fight the Keth. It was built to stand against something far worse. Admiral Valen's pride cracked. His voice was hoarse when he spoke. Why show us this? Why not bring your fleets to fight this enemy alone? The human voice answered without hesitation. Because alone is not enough. Not even for us. The galaxy must stand together or fall together. The officers stared in silence. The words felt heavier than any weapon. The humans were not boasting. They were not threatening. They were inviting an offer or a warning, but pride was not so easily silenced. Some of the Keth captains shouted across comms, their voices raw with rage. Lies, tricks. They show us monsters to hide their own power. Destroy them now, before they enslave us. The fleet was divided. Fear against pride. Instinct against arrogance. And through it all, the human ship remained steady, glowing faintly as though waiting. On the flagship, Admiral Valen closed his eyes. His mind wrestled with the choice before him. To strike again would mean nothing. He had seen their weapons fail. To retreat would mean shame, disgrace before the galaxy. But to listen, to truly listen, that was something the Keth had never done. Finally, he opened his eyes, his voice heavy. What happens if we refuse? The human voice replied, calm and certain. Then you will face them alone, and you will not survive. The bridge fell silent. Every officer felt the weight of those words. The humans had not come to beg or to boast. They had come to speak truth. A truth the galaxy did not want to hear. The hidden power of the human ship was not only its strength, not only its strange, living core, its true power was something far greater. The power to make. Even the fiercest predators of the galaxy stop and listen. And as the human ship drifted onward, Admiral Valen realized with a chill that the Keth had just glimpsed the future. Not a future of Keth rule. Not a future of endless conquest. A future where humanity would lead the galaxy into war not against itself, but against the darkness returning from beyond the stars. The alien fleet wavered. Fear and pride clashed across 300 ships, each captain torn between survival and defiance. The humans had shown them the coming storm, the ancient enemy that would devour them all. But to the Keth, pride was as deep as blood. On the outer edge of the armada, one captain broke the silence. His voice boomed across comms, harsh and unyielding. Enough of this human trickery. We are Keth, born to conquer, born to rule. One ship will not make us kneel. His vessel roared to life, forcing its engines back online with raw power surges. Somehow, the crew had bypassed the strange silence that had gripped their systems. Weapons flickered, shields flared. The captain turned his ship toward the human vessel. Watch, Admiral. I will end this farce myself. Admiral Valen's voice thundered in reply. Stand down. You don't understand what you're doing, but the captain had already cut the channel. His ship surged forward, weapons locking onto the human vessel. Across the fleet, crews held their breath. Some cheered in desperation, hoping pride would win the day. Others stared in horror, sensing what was about to unfold. The Keth ship fired. A full barrage of missiles and beams streaked through the void. Bright as a newborn sun. The assault should have shattered cities, ripped moons apart. It never reached the human vessel. One by one, each missile dissolved into nothing. Each beam unraveled into starlight. The attack died before it ever touched the human ship. The alien captain's voice screamed across, "Comes. No more power. Fire again." But it was useless. The weapons kept vanishing, swallowed by silence. His crew panicked, shouting, clawing at controls that refused to obey, and then their ship stopped moving. The lights dimmed. The engine sighed and went cold. Every weapon shut down at once. The vessel hung in the dark, powerless, just like before. But this time, the human ship moved. A low hum filled the void. The alien fleet watched in dread as beams of pale light swept across the disabled vessel, scanning it from bow to stern. For a moment, the Keth captain's voice returned, desperate and broken. "Admiral, help me." "It's inside." Its static cut him off. The ship shuddered once, a soundless convulsion in the void. Then it cracked. Metal tore like paper. Hull plates peeled away, floating into space like feathers. The vessel came apart in slow, deliberate silence, not with an explosion, but as though invisible hands had taken it apart piece by piece. Within moments, what had been a warship was nothing but scattered fragments. Drifting quietly among the stars, the fleet gasped in horror. 300 ships had watched a comrade reduced to scrap without a single shot fired. It was not war, it was demonstration. The human voice spoke again, calm as ever. "This is what happens when pride blinds you." On the flagship, Admiral Valen felt the weight of 1,000 eyes on him. His officers were pale, silent. Their pride shattered with the ship that now floated in pieces. His throat was dry when he finally spoke. "You could have destroyed us all," the human voice answered. "We do not destroy needlessly. That ship will serve as warning. Nothing more." Valen stared at the screen showing the wreckage. Nothing more. One ship dismantled, 300 spared. The humans had chosen mercy. But to the Keth, mercy was more terrifying than annihilation. Mercy meant power beyond imagination. Mercy meant they could have killed, but chose not to. Whispers spread like fire across the armada. They didn't even kill the Kruluk. The fragments of the shattered vessel drifted, but among them, tiny pods blinked with faint light. Escape craft! The human ship had spared the lives of those aboard, even as it tore their warship apart. It was a message. The humans could unmake any ship in the fleet. They could slaughter without effort. And yet they chose restraint. That truth struck deeper than any weapon. Admiral Valen finally rose from his chair. His pride was bleeding. His instincts had never been clearer. The Keth could no longer pretend. Humanity had not come to bluff. They had not come to posture. They had come to show what they were capable of, and what awaited if the galaxy refused to. "Listen." Valen's voice was hoarse but steady as he addressed the fleet. "All captains, hold your fire. No one moves without my command." There was no protest. Not this time. The shattered remains of their comrade's vessel silenced all arguments. The human voice returned. Softer now, almost weary. "You are not our enemy, but the storm that comes will not show you mercy. Only strength and unity will stand against it." The images returned to the fleet's screens, the ancient enemy. Those vast, monstrous shapes drifting in the void. Their eyes burned brighter now, as though the memory itself had awakened. The Keth fleet trembled. For the first time in their history, they faced a choice not of conquest, but of survival. On the bridge, Admiral Valen's claws dug into his chair. His pride whispered for defiance, but his heart knew the truth. One ship had shattered his fleet without killing a single soul. One ship had shown them mercy when they deserved none, and one ship had made the Keth predators. "Of the stars feel fear." He bowed his head, the words bitter but certain. "Speak, human. Tell us what you would have of us." The human ship drifted closer, glowing faintly in the dark, and the galaxy held its breath. Waiting for the answer, the wreckage of the shattered Keth warship drifted silently, fragments glittering like broken glass against the stars. The fleet dared not move. Hundreds of ships, once proud and untouchable, now sat powerless before one human vessel. On the flagship, Admiral Valen's voice was low, but steady. "Speak, human. Tell us what you would have of us." The cums crackled, and the human voice returned, calm, certain. "We do not ask for surrender. We ask for choice." The Keth officers exchanged nervous glances. Choice? No one had ever spoken to them like this. Enemies demanded tribute. Conquerors demanded obedience. But the humans, they were offering something different. The human ship glowed faintly as the voice continued. "The enemy that comes will not stop. It will not bargain. It will not listen. It will devour. Entire civilizations will fall if the galaxy does not stand together. You, Keth, must decide, fight beside us or face the storm alone." The words struck deeper than any weapon. Fight beside us. The Keth had always fought against, always conquered, never joined. To stand beside another race as equals was unthinkable. And yet, the alternative was clear. An officer hissed, whispering to Valen, "They offer alliance, but it is a leash. Today it is the Keth. Tomorrow, the whole galaxy will kneel to humanity." Another officer shook his head, eyes locked on the broken warship still floating in pieces. "No, you saw what they did. They don't need kneeling. They don't need tribute. If they wanted to rule, we'd already be dead." The whispers grew louder, fear and pride twisting together. The fleet was torn, caught between survival and arrogance. Valen slammed his clawed fist against the chair, silencing the bridge. "Enough. They gave us a choice. We will not shame ourselves by squabbling like frightened hatchlings." He looked back at the human vessel, its dark hull shining faintly under the star's glow. His voice carried across the cums, heavy with pride but edged with something else, something new. "If we stand beside you, what does humanity give in return?" The human voice answered instantly, "Our word. We will not rule you. We will not chain you. We will fight beside you, bleed beside you, and if need be, die beside you. That is our promise." The Keth fell silent. Promises meant little in war. Words faded, but actions remained, and the humans had shown action. They had spared a fleet that could have been destroyed. They had shown visions of the true enemy, and they had dismantled a warship without killing its crew. For the first time, the Keth wondered if the humans truly meant what they said, but pride is a cruel master. Across the cums, voices of dissent erupted. Captains who refused to bow, who clung to the old ways. "We are Keth. We do not stand beside prey. This is weakness. Better to die fighting than live in chains." The fleet threatened to break apart. Some leaned toward alliance, others toward defiance. The choice split them down the middle. On the flagship, Valen's heart pounded. He saw the future in his mind. 300 ships tearing each other apart while the human vessel watched, silent and patient. If he did not act now, the Keth would destroy themselves before the true enemy even arrived. He rose from his chair, his voice thundering across the fleet. "You speak of chains? Look around you. Who bound us in silence? Who took our weapons, our pride, and left us helpless?" The silence deepened. It was not the humans. It was our arrogance. He pointed at the wreckage of the broken ship. That was not conquest. That was mercy. And mercy is more terrifying than death. Do you not see? They could have killed us all, and yet we live. They chose to let us live. His voice dropped, quieter but sharper. If we refuse them, we face the storm alone. And I tell you, now we will not survive. The fleet fell into stillness. Captains who had roared in defiance now looked away, their pride cracked. Others lowered their heads, shame and fear mixing with reluctant respect. The human voice broke the silence. "Admiral Valen, the choice is yours." The Keth leader's chest rose and fell, the weight of his species pressing against his shoulders. His claws curled against the steel. His pride begged him to refuse. But the truth burned brighter. Finally, he spoke. "We will stand beside you." The coms filled with gasps. Some captains cursed, others shouted in disbelief, but none moved against him. They could not. The shattered ship drifting in pieces above them was proof enough. The human voice was calm. "Then hear this. Keth, your fleet is no longer broken. Your weapons and engines will return. But remember, your choice binds you not with chains, but with trust. Break it, and you will not be spared again." Suddenly, the Keth fleet stirred. Systems flared back to life. Engines roared, shields glowed, weapons hummed. The silence that had gripped them was gone. Their fleet lived again. But now they knew their survival was not their own doing. It was a gift. A gift humanity could take away just as easily. On the flagship, Admiral Valen sank back into his chair, scales prickling with unease. He had made the choice. He had bound the Keth to humanity's cause. But in the back of his mind, one thought whispered still: if one human ship could bend the Keth to its will, what would happen when the rest of humanity arrived? The Keth fleet floated in uneasy silence, weapons humming, engines alive once more. Hundreds of captains whispered across private comms, their voices sharp with doubt. Some seethed at Admiral Valen's decision. Others clung to it like a lifeline, but none dared move against the human vessel. It drifted ahead of them, dark and silent, its presence pressing against their senses like the weight of an unseen storm. One ship had bent the Keth to its will. One ship had offered mercy where destruction was certain, and one ship had promised a greater war was coming. On the flagship, Admiral Valen sat rigid, claws digging into his chair. His officers waited for his command, but none spoke. Their pride was cracked, their fear raw. Finally, he gave a low growl. "Human vessel, we have chosen. We will stand with you. Now show us what comes." For a moment, the void was silent. Then the human voice returned, calm but edged with something darker. "You will see soon enough." The screens flickered again. This time, the vision was not of Earth, not of memories. It was real. Live. A far star system, half a galaxy away. Ships drifting, planets burning, a fleet shattered into dust, and in the dark between the star shapes, vast formless shapes that twisted against the void. They were not machines, not life as the Keth knew it. Their bodies bent light, their movements rippled against space itself, and their eyes burning pits of hunger stared outward. The bridge went silent. The officers' scales prickled as if the monsters could see them through the screen. One whispered, barely a breath, "They're already here." The vision deepened. The alien creatures swept across the system like a tide. Ships vanished into their shadows. Planets crumbled under their weight. No weapons slowed them, no shield held against their touch. And then the sound, a low, endless rumble echoed through the comms, not heard with ears, but felt in the chest. A hunger, a call, a promise of ruin. Officers clutched at their chests, eyes wide with terror. Even Valen's heart pounded faster, his pride crumbling beneath the weight of something so vast, so unstoppable. The human voice cut through the dread. "This is what waits in the dark. This is what comes for us all." The vision faded. The void returned. Only the single human ship remained, silent and steady. Admiral Valen forced his voice steady. "How many of them?" The human's answer was a whisper. "Enough to burn galaxies." The bridge trembled with fear. But amid the dread, something else stirred a grim clarity. The Keth had spent centuries believing themselves predators, lords of the stars. Yet compared to these things, they were prey. And the humans had faced this truth long before. The fleet whispered, "If even 300 ships cannot face one human vessel, then how can the galaxy face that?" The question was on every mind. If humanity had power enough to silence armadas, what else had they hidden? What else waited behind that single ship? Admiral Valen spoke again, his voice low but resolute. "You did not send this ship to fight us. You sent it to test us." The human voice did not deny it. Only those willing to see truth will survive. Pride will fall first. Unity is the only shield. The words were simple, but to the Keth, they were heavier than any weapon. For a long moment, no one spoke. The fleet hung in the silence of the stars, 300 warships staring at one. Then the human ship moved. Slowly, deliberately, it turned from the Keth and began to drift forward. Deeper into the void, the human voice returned, soft and steady. The darkness has already stirred. It will not wait. Come with a sore weight to be devoured. Admiral Valen stared after the vessel. His claws flexed, his chest tight with dread. The Keth had fought countless wars. They had conquered countless worlds. But never had they followed. Never had they bent their pride to another's path. And yet now, they had no choice. He rose from his chair, his voice carrying across the coms. All ships, follow the humans. There was no protest. Not anymore. Not after what they had seen. Engines flared, drives ignited, and the Keth fleet shifted course, falling in behind the lone human vessel. Predators had become allies. Hunters had become followers. In the silence of space, the human ship glowed faintly, its engines burning steady. One ship against the void. One ship carrying the weight of humanity's promise, and behind it, 300 Keth warships followed, not conquered, but bound by fear, by respect, and by the truth of what was coming. The darkness had stirred, and the galaxy would never be the same again. And as the lone human ship led 300 alien warships into the dark, the galaxy held its breath, for the true war had only just begun.